Hey guys, it's Angelo, and after quite the content drought, Shadowlands is back with patch 9.1. So welcome to the Shadow Priest guide for World of Warcraft's Chains of Domination. Interestingly enough, a considerable amount of things have changed for the Shadow Priest, while most core functions remain completely intact. Legendaries have been nerfed, as we have discussed in previous videos, while others have been buffed. Some soulbinds have been changed, new ones have been added, and new legendaries were also implemented a while back. All in all, though not as much is changing for us as previous content update patches, there is still a lot to discuss. In this guide, as in all of my guides, we'll be going over what has changed for the spec in a quick rerun, discuss the current stat priority, our talents and which ones you will be playing in patch 9.1, a look at covenants in patch 9.1, and the overall pros and cons of the spec. For the rotation, be sure to check my Shadow Priest rotation video, which will be releasing simultaneously with this video, probably delayed by a day or two for the YouTube algorithm, so it'll actually be out before this video. If you want to skip ahead to certain parts of the video, just check the YouTube player, the video is separated into chapters for you. Now, a quick little PSA, if you want to watch me live in the Sanctum of Domination, or just playing 9.1, be sure to catch me over on Twitch with the link in the description box below, and be sure to join us over on Discord if you want to join the discussion with all things World of Warcraft related. Both links are in the description box down below, of course. Alright, with all of that being said, I don't want to take up any more time here, so let's go right ahead and have a look. Okay, so before we get into the nitty-gritty, we need to take a step back and summarize what has changed for you as a Shadow Priest this patch. The Shadowflame Prism has been nerfed quite significantly, while Talbador's Stratagem has been nerfed as well, though be it not as hard. Due to the implementation of a third Conduit slot, odds will be in favor of the Shadowflame Prism at the moment, and while the Shadowflame Prism will most likely still remain the best for Mythic Plus and for raids, you may actually be able to run with Talbadors in single target. Apart from that, we have a new legendary as well, but currently it doesn't look like we will be that promising with that at all, so honestly I wouldn't even worry about any of the new Covenant legendaries. I spoke about it extensively in a previous video, and the info tab with that link should pop up as I'm speaking now. Some of our base spells have also been changed, and Devouring Plague sees a nerf of roughly 18%, while both Shadow Word Pain and Vampiric Touch have been buffed by 25%. All of our soulbinds have received new traits, while old ones have been changed slightly, but this is honestly minor enough not to see you having to swap covenants or see any specific one just outperforming another one in a different way as it was in patch 9.0. There are a couple of new gameplay mechanics in game, like the Shards of Domination system or new Torghast layers, but honestly none of these directly affect this guide, so I will most likely cover them, specifically the Shards of Dominations honestly, in a separate video. Okay, so far so good. With that out of the way, let's jump right ahead and go into our stat priority. When it comes to our stat priority, fortunately for us not much has changed. This means that intellect remains the main priority, after which comes haste again. Mastery is generally speaking right behind haste, and you'll want as much of both as possible. After this we'll be going for critical strike, which has lost a bit of potency over time, but this may change with patch 9.1, especially when looking at the Shards of Domination system, but honestly it remains to be seen. The final stat in this list is versatility, which you will typically want to try and avoid. The best thing for you to do is sim your character in order to figure out your stat weights. These right here are mine for patch 9.0 for example, and you will want to figure out your own stat weights in order to understand what you want to be going for, but this general list should serve you quite well in any situation. Apart from critical strike possibly becoming stronger than it currently is, I don't think anything else on this list will change. Mastery just seems to scale way too good with better gear, and haste simply synergizes too good with our entire kit to go anywhere either. We'll have to wait and see though. Now this of course means you will want to use either haste or mastery sockets. Be sure to sim yourself here as well to figure out which ones you'll pick, and the same goes for your buff food. Alright, let's move on and take a look at our talents, see if anything has changed, and take a look at what to pick. Okay, once more, we don't see many changes here, but I do want to go over each talent we'll be picking anyway, because it's important for players who are new to the spec with this patch. Let's start right off in the level 15 talent row. Here, we have Fortress of the Mind, Death and Madness, and Unfurling Darkness. In this talent row, 2 talents can find their use and can be realistic options, with Fortress of the Mind being the go-to option for raids, while Death and Madness can be used in Mythic Plus for certain raid encounters with ad spawns which are very frequent and very squishy. In Mythic Plus specifically, Death and Madness is incredibly strong as it allows you to carry over a lot of insanity from trash pack to trash pack while keeping your Mindbender uptime high for the Shadow Flame Prism. Your level 25 talent row is entirely up to you, but Body and Soul will arguably be the most useful pick here, as both Sand Lane and Intangibility are situational talents. In your level 30 talent row, we have Twist of Fate, Misery, and Searing Nightmare. All 3 talents will be finding their use once more this patch, with Twist of Fate being very strong in single target encounters like the Guardian of the First Ones or the Terror Grew, while Misery is strong for any cleave fight and will be your go-to option there. Searing Nightmare is only really strong in Mythic Plus at the moment, save for a couple of bosses like Fate Scribe Brokalo, but in Mythic Plus it's hands down your best option for most lower to mid-level keys. I've discussed this in my Shadow Priest rotation video for the patch, so be sure to check that out for more info. In our level 35 talent row, the choice is yours once more, with Last Word and Psychic Horror being the best options most of the time. In the level 40 talent row, we have Auspicious Spirits, Psychic Link, and Shadow Crash. Currently, both Shadow Crash and Auspicious Spirits are competitive options, with Shadow Crash actually being your good or rather go-to for Mythic Plus when pulling big, and Auspicious Spirits finding strength in spreaded cleave fights, so mostly in raids, while also being your single target go-to option. Your shadowy apparitions will deal quite a lot of damage with higher ranking Conduits, and the possibility is definitely there for the talent to push its way to the undisputed top this patch. Our level 45 talent row, we have Domination, Mindbender, and Void Torrent, with both Void Torrent and Mindbender being good, both depending very specifically on the legendary that you pick. Mindbender is very good in Mythic Plus as it generates a lot of insanity while only costing 1 global cooldown every minute, and becomes incredibly powerful with the Shadow Flame Prism legendary, while Void Torrent deals absolutely insane amounts of damage and also generates 60 insanity every 30 seconds, and is the stronger baseline pick as well as strong with Talbot or Stratagem. Damnation is only really used for PvP and doesn't really find a viable place in PvE at all. Finally, in our level 50 talent row, we have Ancient Madness, Hungering Void, and Surrender to Madness. All 3 options are strong in their recording environment. Ancient Madness is a decent all-round talent, and its critical strike buff can be quite the DPS push in Mythic Plus, especially in weeks where you can burst down trash as it buffs your Void forms by quite a bit, while Hungering Void is insanely strong in any single target or 2 target cleave fight, or honestly any environment where you'll be able to maintain Void bolts on a single target. Surrender to Madness is decent when you can abuse it and force a second Void form every 90 seconds or so, making it viable in Mythic Plus. Overall, our talents provide us with a beautiful amount of choices to deal with in any given situation. Alright, next up, let's take a detailed look at Covenants, Soulbinds, and Conduits. Covenants have seen a couple of changes we need to talk about, albeit briefly. They've been changed quite frequently throughout the course of patches 9.0 and 9.0.5, getting different buffs and nerfs throughout the months. But now in patch 9.1, all Covenants have also received new rows as well as 1 extra Conduit slot for a Potency Conduit. In terms of damage increases, the Venthyr now give either more critical strike with Fatal Flaw from Nadia, or a 3% haste buff for 1 hour a day with Theotor. The Kyrian get a damage increase that cycles through different effects every 15 seconds for Mechanicos, while Bonesmith Hymir for the Necrolords get a strong execute that goes well with Twist of Fate, as well as a strong burst damage increase. Finally, we have the Night Fae, which get a very solid buff to Nia, buffing you with more mastery whenever a non-Night Fae player is in your group. All in all, some pretty great new Covenant abilities, or rather Conduits and Soulbind changes, but ultimately they won't really see you switch Covenants specifically for them. This means that Shadow will inevitably still want to stay Night Fae, or Venthyr if you value PvP, and Necrolord as the second option for PvE. Should this change, I will of course be sure to update you immediately. When it comes to your Conduits, you will essentially keep the ones you currently use, which should be Haunting Apparitions and Dissonant Echoes, and you will want to add Rabbit Shadows to the list, especially along with the Shadow Flame Prism. Mind Devourer was recently nerfed, and currently isn't really that strong in any scenario, meaning you will most likely not use it. Finally, let's have a quick look at legendaries and which ones you will be playing in patch 9.1. Okay, so our best legendary to play with currently in patch 9.1 will most likely still remain the Shadow Flame Prism. However, with the new Shards of Domination features coming in patch 9.1, you will want to consider switching the Shadow Flame Prism onto your gloves, because you will be able to put Shards of Domination sockets onto the helmet you can loot out of the raid. This also means you will want to change out Talbot or Stratagem as well if you really want to min-max and put it on the legs rather than the belt. Apart from this, you will most likely not be switching up legendaries that much. The new Necrolord legendary may be a solid possibility, but at the time of creating this guide, which is about a week before launch, the legendary was still insanely buggy and will most likely not be as powerful as previously thought. Okay, last but not least, let's address the pros and the cons of the spec, and let's summarize. The Shadow Priest is looking pretty strong during this patch. In fact, we're looking to be a top tier DPS contender once more, and I doubt this pattern will shift next patch either. Being an entire patch into Shadowlands now shows that the Shadow Priest rework was a very good idea, as the spec truly has everything in its kit to deal with all forms of PvE and PvP content properly, not only damage-wise, but well, also from a utility perspective. We're able to funnel high amounts of single target damage into one enemy, while with the recent buffs to our dots, we're also able to spread that damage onto multiple enemies much more effectively than before. Our AoE potential remains uncapped essentially, which also means that we can deal a lot of damage in Mythic Plus, albeit less burst damage and more consistent AoE. All in all, Shadow is looking like the strongest ranged pick to play in the Sanctum of Domination, and remains a strong player in Mythic Plus Keystones, so this patch looks quite good for us. What do you think though? Any aspects of the Priest or this patch that you dislike, and if so, why? Be sure to let us all know in the comment section down below. But apart from that, thank you so much for watching. If this video was helpful to you, be sure to leave a like, and if you wish to stay updated on the content of this channel, then feel free to subscribe. A special thanks to all of my supporters over on Patreon, as well as all of the subs over on Twitch. You guys are awesome, and once more, thank you everyone for watching. Now, as always, have a good one my friends, enjoy the pre-patch, get excited for Shadowlands, and I will see you all in the next one.